To Yemen now, where Houthi militias now say 6 people have been killed and dozens injured in Israeli strikes on the capital Sanaa. Israel said it targeted power plants and a military site near the presidential palace. The Houthi militant group is supported by Iran, and the airstrikes come just days after the Houthis launched a new aerial attack on Israel, which Israel says included cluster munitions.
A large explosion rips through Sanaa as the Israeli Air Force targets the Yemeni capital. Eyewitnesses say windows were shattered and the ground shook from the force of the blast. According to the Israeli Prime Minister, the intent was to send a clear message, just days after Iran-backed Houthi militants launched strikes towards Israel.
Whoever attacks us, we attack them. Whoever plans to attack us, we attack them. I think the entire region is learning Israel's might and determination.
The Israeli army released this footage, saying it shows its fighter jets getting ready to depart for Yemen. Their destination, around 2,000 kilometres away. A complex operation that requires refuelling several times mid-flight. Israel has carried out many retaliatory strikes on the Houthi-controlled Yemeni capital over the past 22 months, in response to missiles and drones fired at Israel by the militant group. Most of those projectiles have been intercepted, but a missile shot down on Friday could signal a new threat. Israeli media reports say it contained cluster munitions, which indicate Iran is providing the Houthis with improved technology that's more difficult to intercept.
I'm now joined by DW senior correspondent Fanny Facsar, who is in Jerusalem for us. Good to see you, Fanny. Good morning. So Israel ordered this strike in retaliation to an earlier attack from the Houthis on Friday. Is there any chance now that these escalations could intensify further?
Just looking at how unstable this entire region is, more escalation is always possible. The question is to what extent, to what degree? Because looking at the US-UK military campaign against Houthi militants this spring, a lot of people may have believed, a lot of observers, that their military capabilities is largely dismantled. And even though to a certain degree that's true, when you look at the strategic, the infrastructure level, the capabilities to coordinate amongst Houthi militants, that's very much intact. And that's been emphasized by their latest attack last week, Friday, firing missiles towards Israel. Now, if it's true what Israel claims, that these missiles also included cluster bombs, this would also mean or indicate that likely these were weapons from Iran. Obviously, we know Houthi militants being a proxy of Iran and Iran's larger axis in the region. And it also, of course, implies that then Iran keeps supporting, as they have done in the past, Houthi militants. Now, Iran has used those cluster bombs during what became later known the 12-day war between Iran and Israel this June. And as a result, I think it's very important to actually look at what Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel said after the counterstrikes took place against various military and energy positions in Sanaa, because he said that the region is learning about the power of Israel. So clearly he did not only want to send a message to Houthi militants, but to the entire region, including Iran specifically, not to get involved even further. And also a message here domestically to the people here on the ground in Israel to say, I'm going to protect Israel. But as more and more people have been taking to the streets, they actually have significant doubts whether with Prime Minister Netanyahu there's going to be more stability in the region. Rather, as the Gaza war continues, a lot of people are saying it's because of the ongoing Gaza war that this region is in such an unstable situation. And Houthi militants have said, as long as the war continues in Gaza, they're going to keep attacking Israel.
Right, and speaking of Gaza, Fanny, what is the latest there?
The so-called pre-phase of the what's to be a full-scale invasion, a full-scale offensive in Gaza City has already taken place, according to Israeli military. And when we hear pre-phase, it sounds rather technical. But if you really look at the pictures on the ground there, how thousands of people have fled Gaza City already meaning before an evacuation order has been set by the Israeli military. So people are really scared on the ground, but where are they going to go to is one question. But the other question is also when when this Gaza City offensive on full scale is going to take place, because already Israeli military has been pounding various neighborhoods, especially to the north and the east of Gaza City during the past 2 weeks. The question is it going to start in the next couple of days or rather in the next couple of weeks? Because the Israeli defense minister has called on reservists to report, but this is not before September 2nd. And then, of course, Prime Minister Netanyahu also has to greenlight the entire operation that is supposed to likely happen tomorrow in the Security Cabinet. But before all of this is likely to take place, people here in Israel are ready to stage more protests, take to the streets and make sure that they increase the pressure on the Israeli government to not go ahead with the likelihood of this Gaza City offensive, because they're fearing for the lives of the hostages that are still held captive there in the Strip.
All right, that's our Fanny Facsar for us in Jerusalem there, DW senior correspondent. We appreciate that. Thank you, Fanny.
Now, for more on this conflict, let's bring in Sara Bazoobandi. She's a researcher at the Institute for Security Politics at the University of Kiel. Now, Israel claims the recent Houthi attack on its territory on Friday night included cluster munitions. That's a warhead that releases several smaller bombs. If that is true, what would this mean for this conflict that's been going on for nearly 2 years?
It's important to keep in mind that the report of use of cluster munition was also reported by Israeli officials during the 12 days of war with Iran. Towards the end of that episode, Israelis confirmed that Iran has used that class of ammunition. So it wouldn't be too surprising if the government in Iran decided to share that with the Houthis to put more pressure on Israel as the tension is escalating, as the possibility of another episode of direct confrontation between Israel and Iran, or perhaps US-Israel on one side and Iran the other side, is increasing. The Houthis have continuously received support from the Iranian government over the past years. Now, it's important also to keep in mind that the group is the so-called the last man standing in the list of Iranian-backed groups across the region. So it wouldn't be surprising if they receive more support at this point, because they are the only viable group that can fight this war on behalf of the Iranian government or in collaboration with them.
Now, taking that into consideration, the Houthis seem to be very defiant despite heavy Israeli air raids inflicting major damage to infrastructure. Is there anything that can force them to change course, you think?
Well, this is a group that is enjoying support, enjoying visibility, enjoying international recognition and regional recognition that this conflict since 2023 has provided them with. Of course, they had a long track record of fighting and being involved in various conflicts with other regional actors domestically as well. But this particular episode has given them a very particular international recognition, which domestically has also boosted their gravitas domestically inside Yemen. So they are expected to continue so long as they receive the required support. And I think what ultimately they really want is to continue enjoying this recognition and this domestic power that is providing them with.
Now, can you help us understand the nature of the relationship between Iran and the Houthis? How much say does Tehran have on decisions made by the Houthis in Yemen?
Especially since the crisis in 2023 started, this question of whether Houthis are so-called proxies of Iran or not has been really debated extensively amongst the policymakers and analysts and academics as well. What I usually say in answer to that question is that let's assume that Iran puts a demand on the table, shares a request with the Houthis, and provides support with them. Under what circumstances would the Houthis say no? And I find really difficult to to imagine an answer to that question. So for that reason, I always feel, and I always in my work and in my presentations, I always emphasize on this point that yes, Houthis have their own domestic agenda. But at the same time, once they see an alignment, with the aims and the strategic advancements and strategic goals that Iran is pursuing across the region, then there is no reason for them not to want to cooperate. How far are they willing to go? I would say as long as the money and ammunition comes through. Ideologically, a lot of people have argued that, these are different types of Shias. They don't have the same concept, theological framework as the Iranian government has. But ultimately, the group that is now in the leadership, the family members, the brothers, the parts of the tribe that are forming the senior decision-making leadership in Ansarullah or Houthis in Yemen are very close to Iran. Most of them have frequently traveled to Iran. Most of them have a special respect and a special bond and relationship at personal level with senior Iranian political and strategic decision makers. So I don't really think that there would be a divergence anytime soon.
Sara Bazoobandi there, thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us.